Very well. Welcome again to Techfile, your one-stop shop for the latest issues around technology. This is Techfile, where we talk all things technology, and today we are coming to you live from Diani, Kwale County, where the Connected Kenya Summit 2022 is taking place. This conference had taken a 2-year break due to the effects of COVID-19 that affected, of course, converging, conferencing, meetings, exhibitions, and the like. Now those measures have been rested, and of course people are able now to come back and converge. But we've been having a lot of interesting conversations, and I'll be giving them over to you in a short while. But first off, the tech news of the week, shall we? Google announced that it had opened a new product development center in Kenya, the first of its kind in Africa. The firm is now looking for product managers, software engineers, senior UX designers, and UX researchers who will be tasked with solving technical challenges. Some of the tasks will include improving the smartphone experience for people in Africa while improving its infrastructure across the continent. Amazon Web Services has announced plans to set up a hub in Kenya to bolster the American technology giant's grip on the lucrative data hosting market. The AWS local zone will join 16 other similar data centers in the US and an additional 32 set to be launched in 26 countries across the world later this year. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru said the investment by Amazon indicates that Kenya remains attractive for foreign direct investors seeking to spread their footprint in the region.
From a practical point of view, what this means is that the issues of data residency and basically the consent, some of the consents from the public and the top level of the private sector in terms of moving their data onto the cloud is being solved. We as Safaricom have helped quite a number of public sector organizations move their data to the cloud. We are a good partner of AWS. We believe both brands coming together to help in terms of moving the digital transformation agenda in Kenya is definitely going to help in the acceleration, which is this year's theme of this event.
We are able to support from the smallest startup because we are talking about space that is expanding and scaling based on your very need. Gartner, who continues to do an evaluation of cloud infrastructure, has placed us for the 11th year in a row in the Magic Quadrant leader for the 11th year in a row as a leader in both axes in terms of whether you're talking about completeness of vision or ability to execute. So when we say that we are the world's largest provider of cloud computing and secondly most broadly adopted, we are then not just, it's been validated by global practices.
Bookbank Trust has today launched the second phase of digitization campaign dubbed The Missing Bits in a bid to preserve and promote the paper-based collections housed at the Macmillan Library in Nairobi. The second phase will see an estimated 43,200 copies of rare old books, newspapers and documents get fully digitized. This follows a successful first cycle that digitized 31,549 archives featuring documents and newspapers tracing back to Kenya's colonial era and early post-colonial eras. Netflix lost subscribers for the first time in 10 years at the start of the year and is said to expect even more losses in the spring, sending its share price crashing again on Tuesday. The streaming giant's share price initially fell close to 20% on news that it had lost 200,000 subscribers globally due to the first quarter. Wall Street had been expecting the company to add 2.5 million subscribers. Netflix expects to lose 2 million more subscribers globally in the current quarter. In a surprise move, Netflix executives said they were now open to adding advertising to the service in return for lower price subscription. Netflix co-founder and chairman Reed Hastings has long been opposed to adding commercials or other promotions to the service. Oracle Kenya has announced a $1 million USD funding for Kenyan startups in its pilot plan to support Kenyan businesses. The fund, which targets Kenyan tech-based startups, will also come with training that aims to strengthen effective and ethical business culture among Kenyan startups. The startups will also get to use Oracle platforms to access cloud services.
I think we are really lucky to be in Kenya, where we see massive number of innovators and startups. no doubt what we've seen is that we've got a young generation that is techie savvy, but also we've got problems that we need to solve. And as Oracle, with our platforms and solutions that we have an opportunity to go into supporting these startups to really solve the problems that we see in our environment. We do think that Kenya is in the leading path in digitization, and not only what we see is that the Vision 2030 that Kenya, the change that we want to see from a socio-economic, will be actually achieved using technology as a key pillar. My view also is that as a technology company with many years of experience, with some of the strongest technology solutions, we want to share that with the startup community. As a matter of fact, recently we did announce a $1 million seed funding into Oracle startups in Africa. And on top of that, we're actually providing our platform where they can be able to use our cloud platform to innovate.
Very well, that's what's been happening in the tech world. Let me now get you into the ins and outs of all things technology as referred to here at the Connected Kenya Tech Summit 2022 in Diani. Let's give you that feed, you know. This year's Connected Summit was held in Diani, Kwale County. The Connected Summit, which made a comeback after 2-year hiatus due to COVID-19, started in 2009. This year's 4-day conference saw the launch of the Kenya National Digital Master Plan by the ICTCS Joe Musheru. Techfile had a one-on-one with him, and here's what he had to say about the master plan and his outlook of the whole event. Buenos Dias, thank you so much for your time on KTN News. Thank you. Really are grateful that you are able to speak to us. We just want to understand, what is this Munyama called the Digital Master Plan?
You know, if you don't have a plan, then you can go anywhere. And in many cases you can fail because it's not easy to measure. And so the Digital Master Plan is a plan that we as a country will use. So we have these plans every 10 years, which we use to review, and we can even amend, but allow us to take advantage of the opportunities that are opening up for the country. If we go back 10 years, you know, we didn't have like Amazon setting up here. The Microsoft Development Center was not in place. We had maybe 1-2 cables in place. So a lot of things have changed. Okay. So as they change, then we put a plan together to ensure that as we go to, say, 2032, what are we going to look like? How about the skills that we need? Okay. If we're saying we're going to have data centers, we're going to go to the cloud, we're going to go to artificial intelligence, are we training enough engineers? Are we training enough people within our schools so that by that time we're there? Okay. So this master plan ensures that we can audit, find out how many people we have, how many people do we need to train. In this one, we've even said we want to train 20 million Kenyans on ICT. We want every Kenyan to be able to understand ICT and use ICT so as to improve their daily life.
The next India of Africa.
Well, and even more. We want to be able to scale even more and do more things. Okay. Because now, when you look at where we're going, either with artificial intelligence or with all the technology that is coming in place, we as a country are moving very fast. You look at what we're doing with the fintech sector. You look at what we're doing even on content. Then we can use all this technology to move forward. And so we have a great chance to make sure we plan and plan well. At the same time, because it's not a government initiative, it's not only private sector, we must put everybody together. We must all come together and say, this is the role you will play as private sector. This is the role you will play as the regulator, as the policy makers. This is the role the customer and consumers have. So we look at all that, and when you put a nice plan together, people can invest in that plan. And look at when we put our previous plan, we have all the investments that are now happening.
What would be the first line of action?
So I think it's not one, because the good thing is that we have many actors. And even government alone, we have many hands. We have many people. So we have said in the master plan, for example, we need to roll out 100,000 kilometers of fiber. Even as we roll out all the road infrastructure, all the other electricity and so on, we want to make sure we roll out all that fiber. But the government itself is doing it directly through the ICT authority. Last week we launched the fiber with the Kenya pipeline. So many of these companies are also coming in and putting in fiber. So everyone has their own specific role that they're doing.
Amazing. The last question, Bwana CS, as we close this discussion. You are the chief guest here at the Connected Kenya Summit. A summit that's coming back after 2 years. What's your biggest take home in Connected Kenya Summit 2022? Is it the promise of the technological infrastructure that we have? Is it the issues to do with data that are coming up and how we are working to protect the data? What's your biggest take home, sir?
My biggest take home is that 10 years ago, this actually started in 2009, the many discussions that we've had and said this is where Kenya is going. If we look back, we can see we've done even better than we had planned. If we look back, like now this cable, the Peace cable that just landed, we just launched the other day here in Mombasa, it's much larger than the other 5 cables that came in. Better service, better quality in terms of speed, and so we're just seeing better things. Last time we were coming here, Amazon was not a local company. Now they're here, they're local. Microsoft has even opened their servers to us so that our young youth, 431 of them, now are fully working for Microsoft Global, all their key products and services. And of course, on top of that, companies like Moderna are setting up here. You've seen all the infrastructure development. So what we've been able to see is that together as an industry, we can see the kind of growth.
Many thanks, Bwana CS. Thank you so much for your time and the sentiments on KTN News. And we have been speaking to the ICT CS right here at the Connected Kenya Summit in Diani, Kwale County. Among the many topics handled at the conference, what stood out was the call for secure tech space, with most delegates asserting the need for organizations to have company data secure and provide more security, even at individual level. Convergence Network Solutions CEO and founder Abdullahi Sheikh told Techfile that the artilleries of war are fast changing globally.
There's a few things that have been leapfrogged here, but ultimately I see a lot of repetition of what I've seen there. It's good and it's an easy conversation to have, and we guide our clients, and we're passionate about security specifically. Right now, it is the most important topic. It is what the international organizations are talking about, governments are talking about, because the threats have changed from individual criminals to state actors. It's no longer physical. The state actors, even the cyber criminals were motivated by money, individuals, and a bigger portion of cyber crime was that is changing from espionage to actual cyber warfare, and they realize the hyperconnectivity is a good thing, but it comes with a side effect of exposure. That exposure is giving ideas to nations and use it in their competitiveness. And not individual, but if you see one nation, nations compete to be economic powers. And if you can find a competitive advantage in the cyber world, or in a way that you don't have to be physically seen to be attacking someone, and still attacking with an invisible hand. That's what the cyber world does in the dark world. I'll give you an example. In 2008, there was an economic meltdown, and was a lot of perception than reality. It just led to one bank or two banks in the U.S. Creating panic in the global economy. So that gave ideas to state actors that are competing. They realized they just need to take one or two banks in a major Western organization, nation, and that creates a domino effect and creates a panic. So if you can create economic sabotage without physically attacking, it created an interest in creating cyber forces by nations.
A perfect example is drawn from the Russia-Ukraine war. And his sentiments are reiterated by Joseph Mathenge, the Chief Operating Officer of Seriano, a cyber security service providing company. So, are there global cyber security compliance standards?
So there are really multiple things that you have to be compliant to, or rather you can measure yourself against, dependent on what industry and what sector you are. What I mean is, if you're in the financial institution, there's a set standard that people try to adhere to, be it PCI DSS, that's Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. If you're in the health space, there's things like the HIPAA standard, which is on health, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple different standards that people are building their cybersecurity around. But I think the bigger driver right now is law. There is law of the land that organizations individuals have to be compliant to. The Computer Misuse Act of 2018-2017, I believe, the data security, data privacy law that was passed in 2019. So there's a major driver from the regulator, from law, that you have to be compliant to, and you build your entire cybersecurity posture around it. And then also it's good business. Because you're doing things online, it's important that you do them securely. It gives your customers peace of mind in what you're delivering to them.
How then should you prepare and prevent the risk of getting attacked online? David Bunei, the CEO of Oracle Kenya, says start from the beginning by developing secure products for clients to use.
What we've seen is if you do not build security as part of the product that you're giving your customers, then it's very hard to come and put a layer of security later. And what we encourage customers particularly is cloud has become a much more secure environment, because cloud providers like Oracle invest significant amount of dollars in really putting secure systems around cloud access. So solutions like authentication, knowing who is connecting, what's connecting, what data are you accessing, are part and parcel of the architecture that we give our customers. And you're right, the reality is that we've seen, what a breach of data can cause an organization. It can actually cause an organization to really disappear. And what we've seen is that those organizations that are secure and putting investment on security as number one are much more beneficial in terms of how they scale to their customers, how they open up to their partners to access their data with the knowledge that they are secure. And we believe as Oracle that we will continue investing in knowledge on security solutions, but also ensuring that everyone is aware and conscious that IT security is paramount for any prospects of growth of an organization.
Recognizing first that we are constantly leaking data about ourselves, the movies we watch, the websites we go to find our news, our music, restaurants. We are constantly giving data about ourselves. It's getting to the point where it's important for people to understand how to potentially anonymize themselves. Don't give out as much as possible. So the use of virtual private networks, VPNs, that help you remain anonymous when you're online. Paying attention to who is asking for tracking information, cookies, and that type of information. Just paying attention to who that is, and really trying to minimize how we are freely sharing our information. Pay a bit more attention to what's happening around us.
Learn experientially. What the Americans are doing now is they evolve to understand that they have digitally transformed. They thought they had security well done, just to realize that the pandemic and this Ukraine war, which is now majorly cyber war, has shown gaps and exposure in the paradigm, in the philosophy of security they had. And now there's been an executive mandate from the US White House to the government, federal government, and also to working with the private sector, specifically the banking through Federal Reserve, the Banking Association, to come up with a way to respond. And they came up with a framework that existed, but now it's been enforced as the right philosophy of security. It's called Zero Trust Architecture, where the old paradigm was, and we hear this a lot, is trust but verify. The new paradigm is trust no one, verify everyone, trust nothing, verify everything. And when you start that way, where trust is only gained through verification, then the philosophy changes. The way security is looked at changes. What do you need to, the litmus test for digital transformation becomes clear. The frame of reference becomes clear. So what we need to do, and this was a good moment where we launched the digital plan for the next 10 years, is to have iterations, more common iterations, specifically on the cyber side, to make sure that that plan is providing security by design, not as an afterthought. And that shift we don't need to shift. We actually need to leapfrog, so we don't take a while to fully digitize and then realize the same gaps.
Very well. Now you are aware of what is happening in your tech world, and you now know what is also happening at the Connected Kenya Tech Summit that is sponsored by the ICT Authority of Kenya. We just want to be giving you much more in terms of the, the feed on what's happening, because the conference is running up till Friday the 15th. And so that's where we end it right here. Of course, be sure to get more and more interesting conversations from us here in Diani. But this is where we end Techfile on KTN News. We'll be back next week again with Matters Technology. Remember to stay techie and enjoy the rest of your viewing.